So now that we've gotten started a little bit on our cover letter writing and our resume writing, I wanted to take a look really quick at an example of a not so great resume and then look at what I think to be a good resume and a good cover letter. So, what you can see here on the screen, this is an example of what you shouldn't do for your resume. Excuse me. Um, First, okay, let's just start right from the top and work our way through this thing because it is rough. Okay, so we have Joanna Smith, we have her name, and then we have her address, her phone number, and her email address. So something that you'll notice right off the bat is the different colors. You don't want to have different colored text because it just doesn't look professional. And going along with not looking professional is that font. That font is difficult to read and it's not professional. You want to use something that you would use to type a paper with, like maybe Century Gothic, Helvetica, Times New Roman. Any of those would be good choices to use for your text. So since we've gotten through the name and the address and the phone number, let's go ahead and take a look at her email address. Hot stuff, baby. Yikes. Okay, so if you have an email address that is a little let's just say less than professional, you're going to want to make a new email address. It takes a few minutes to make a new email address, so don't let that be the reason to stop you from changing your email address, getting a new email address, because that could be come between you getting that job that you want, is your unprofessional sounding email. I know I used to have one that did not sound professional when I was in middle school and into early high school, and I blush even just thinking about it right now. So I made a new email address and I started using that for all of the professional things, applying for jobs, emailing teachers, emailing professors, and that kind of thing. So moving from her email address down to her objective. Her objective is very short. It doesn't tell a lot about her. You want to talk about yourself in your objective and what kind of person you are and what you're looking to do. So she does look at what she wants to do, but it's not very detailed. It's really short. It's just not working. So then moving on to work history, we have the dates, which is good, and we have where she worked and what she did with that label cashier. But you want to put something a little more involved there, okay? You want to have obviously your dates and obviously where you worked and what your position title was. But then underneath of that, you're going to give a very brief summary, kind of like a little paragraph about what you did there in that position. So that goes for all of her work history down here. She needs to be more detailed and give some more insight to hopefully her future employer about what she did so that they can tell whether or not she has the skills in order to work this new job. Okay, so then moving on to her education. Well, we don't really have much to go on here. We don't know where she went. We don't know when she graduated or if she graduated, if she went to college. I'm guessing she went to college by this Bachelor of Science, college, university. I don't know. This whole thing is a mess right here. So when you are looking at your education section, you're going to put where you went. You're going to put the years you went there. You're going to say for your high school, you're going to say high school diploma. You got your high school diploma. When you move on to college, you're going to put whatever. So maybe it's a Bachelor of Science, your Bachelor of Arts, your maybe when you go on to do a master's or a doctorate or anything like that. But for now, for high school, you're just going to put that you received a high school diploma. And I'm going to show you in a little bit what that looks like. Then we have volunteer service. She says, sometimes I donate stuff to the local thrift store. You might as well just take that out. There's no really good reason to have that in there. It's almost as if she is putting that in there just so she has a volunteer section on there. It's not even really worth putting. So this is a short example of what not to do. If we look at a decent resume, I'm going to be vulnerable here, and I'm going to show you what my resume looks like. So this is my resume. This resume is what got me the job here at Sadell. So this is what my resume looks like. Up here, you have the phone number, that contact information that was on the bad example. As you can see, there are no different colors of text. There are some different colors up here just for an aesthetic, reasons. But you'll see here, I do have my contact information. I whited it out so that you guys couldn't see it. So it is there. But as you can see, everything's the same color. Everything is the same font, basically. All the font works with each other. The font is easy to read. It's a good size. I think that it looks professional. It looks aesthetically pleasing. And the teachers who were in my interview, they have told me since being hired now that just based solely on how my resume and my cover letter looked, they liked me right off the bat. So before I even interviewed, before I even spoke, they were very interested in me because of how professional and pleasing my stuff was to look at. Okay, so I feel like I can speak on this because this type of resume got me a job. Okay, so as you're going to see here, my professional profile, this is kind of like in the bad example when we looked at her objective, that's what that is. So objective can also be called a professional profile or profile. So it just kind of describes me in a few sentences. So you'll see I only have a few sentences, but it tells a lot more about me as a person and as a worker than hers did. All right, so sorry if you just heard my cat meow. And something else we looked at with hers was her experience. So each of her experiences were just one line, the date that she worked there, and her position, if you remember. So with this, we have my position, high school English teacher, where it was at Columbus Catholic High School in the dates. But then you're going to see I have bullet points here listing out the different responsibilities and the different duties that I had at that position. And that goes down through my student teaching and just other things like that. And then we also looked at her education. Her education was very strange. We didn't really know what she was talking about, but education is right over here. And I have my Bachelor of Arts in Teaching, English Teaching. I went to the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls, and I graduated in May 2018. So if you're writing this for yourself as a high school student, you're going to write high school diploma instead of Bachelor of Arts in English Teaching. Here you're going to write Sadell High School. You're going to write Des Moines, Iowa, and then the year that you anticipate to graduate. So then moving on, we don't need to know all that stuff. You're going to have references when you go to do a job, apply for a job. If you've applied for a job and you have a job, you probably already know all of this about having references, but it's good to know if you don't know. So these are people who will speak highly on your behalf and let your future employer know what kind of worker you're going to be. It is important not to have a family member on here. A family member is going to be biased. They are going to not speak the truth about you because they want to help you. So don't put a family member in your professional references. We are maybe going to look at picking out our professional references or our references. So just be thinking about that as we get into this unit on business communication. Okay, I think that's really it. If you want to put other related experience, you can do that, or you could put that volunteerism, but make sure it has a purpose. You're not just putting something in there to fill up space, okay? Then we're going to move on to what my cover letter looks like. This is my cover letter. As you can see, it goes along really, really well with my resume. So in my cover letter, or in a cover letter, you're going to have the date that you're doing it, the date that you're writing and applying. Then you're going to have who it's going to. So I applied for a job at Urbandale Middle School, the address, and then you're going to have Dear Administrator, or since you are going to be applying for a job, you can write Dear Hiring Manager, or To Whom It May Concern is a little old-fashioned for cover letters, so try to avoid that. But you're going to write maybe Dear Hiring Manager, that's who you will address it to. And then in here, in your cover letter, you are writing to indicate your interest. Tell them that you're interested in the job, where you heard about the job. And then in this second paragraph, you're just going to tell them a little bit about yourself and why you think that you are right for the job. This last paragraph here is just a little closing paragraph, kind of restating your interest and just really driving home those characteristics that you have that are going to make you fit for the position that you're applying for. And then you just sincerely, your name at the bottom. So that is all that a cover letter is. The most important thing about a cover letter, and the thing that gets people the most, the thing that prevents people the most from getting a job with their cover letter, are grammar mistakes, are writing mistakes, and punctuation mistakes. So when we are writing our cover letters together, I'm going to really go over it really hard with you guys on making sure that you don't have those grammatical and punctuation errors, those mechanical errors, because that is going to prevent you from getting a job. When they see those type of things, they're not necessarily going to think, oh, they're stupid, nothing like that. It's more, they didn't take the time, they didn't really care enough to go through and read to make sure that they were putting their best foot forward with this cover letter. Okay, so I know that was a lengthy video, but I really wanted to get across those good and bad things with your cover letter and resumes. So as we start writing our own or continue writing our own, please keep these things in mind.